Hello and welcome to this year's KBB Digital webinar series that aims to assist Aussie champions, talking about you, better navigate the modern digital landscape. Now, Small Business Victoria has again proudly partnered up with us to bring two extremely relevant topics to the table for discussion. First is standing out online, which we're going to get stuck into very shortly. The second is turning visitors into customers in 2018, which we'll host on August the 29th. So be sure to join us for that one as well. So to our first topic now, and here to discuss the challenges and solutions when it comes to standing out online is KBB Digital's Dave Chaffee and Jen George, Managing Director and founder of Tammy, and also a serial founder of new businesses. Welcome to both of you. Jen, just give us a bit of background on the businesses you founded.
So originally I started a business called One Shift, which is an employment marketplace in the end of 2016 that actually got acquired. We had about 45,000 small businesses to about 1 million people being recruited around Australia.
Right.
And now we're doing an ad tech business called Tammy, which automates marketplaces, as well as a Facebook group called Like-Minded Bitches Drinking Wine with about 80,000 members.
I love the sound of that. That's terrific. So why... You sold out the original business, which is terrific. Every founder's dream, isn't it? And so why did you start this new one? Why did you start Tammy? What's its purpose?
So when we were building One Shift and also other businesses like Skilled, we found that building marketplaces is really difficult. Making sure you have the right supply to the right demand in the right areas, it's like magic. Every marketplace business struggles with this around the world. So we figured, how do we automate this to make it easier for our business? As we started using this tool and getting success, we realized that we had to connect to ad exchanges to get greater ad networks and visibility. So then when we did that, we actually had to spin it out as a public business and offer it to other companies.
Right. So give me an example of a customer and how they use it.
Sure. So think of someone like Uber. They aren't a customer of ours, but everyone understands Uber.
Right.
You have drivers and customers, and it just basically tracks where all the drivers are and the customers are and says, right, in Sydney CBD right now, you have a deficit of 20% drivers, and you have the state of origin in 3 weeks' time. We know it takes 3 weeks for new drivers to onboard and actually sign up and actually do their first drive. Therefore, start advertising to drivers just in the Sydney CBD right now, because it's in 3 weeks' time, and then adapt the advertising based off what gets you the success rather than how many clicks.
Wow, that's fantastic. Dave, fill us in on KBB Digital.
Look, we're doing lots of stuff at the moment, David, but you put me to shame. I feel like I've got such a dull life, you know. No, we're doing a lot of great stuff with web and Google and social and all those bits and pieces. There's some fantastic stuff which is happening these days with artificial intelligence and how that's sort of creeping into the marketplace and how it's being adapted to small business and websites. There's heaps of things that I'm happy to share today, hopefully, anyway.
Yeah. That artificial intelligence is really interesting. It's not just buying... what are they, Home Pods and Google Pods and stuff like that. You should be using it yourself in terms of finding out the habits of your customers. But we'll discuss that throughout this session. Let's get stuck into some of your questions. And we've got one from Ashley in Queensland who writes in and says, what's the best way to convert Instagram followers into buyers? I've been using the Instagram shop function, but I'm struggling to get engagement on these posts. First of all, Dave, what's in Instagram Shop?
Oh, look, it's a way of sort of adapting the platform. Instagram was always just brought out as a platform for sharing content and the like, and now they're trying to make it so that it can be, well, monetised really, because if we can turn it into a marketplace effectively, then it's going to be more popular. But there's a challenge in that. So everyone does go onto Instagram because they love the visuals and they love the pictures and the stories, but people don't go on there with the intent of buying, and that's the real challenge we're up against here.
Right.
Jen, have you got any thoughts on this? I'll happily jump back.
I was just thinking, my gosh, I actually just went shopping on Instagram.
Well, see, there are a lot. I just know on KBB, our last TV series, Smash Cakes, basically started their business on Instagram. I also follow Kayla at Sinners because I think she's one of the best social media people in Australia, so I try and pick ideas from her. Yeah. So she bases her whole business on Facebook and Instagram, doesn't she?
And also Jane from Showpo, so she does Like-Minded Bitches with us. She has over, I think, 1 million followers across all her social, or a couple million across all her social media accounts. But what's fantastic is you can really create a story and a visual sort of representation of the clothes, for example, with Showpo, and users will go through and go, oh, I like that dress, and you can then tap it and it will bring up the link to actually purchase it. Right. And you can get quite a higher engagement rate that way, rather than actually doing it through the website and doing retargeting.
Okay, so how do you change it from the website to Instagram? You're telling me that the way you sell a product is different. It is on aspiration, it's the whole thing. And it's virtually telling the story and then saying, hey, if you like the story, maybe you like the product.
Definitely. So you're creating a lifestyle. So people buy into that. They like the look of, you know, where the person is. Say they're on a yacht in a nice skirt, drinking an Aperol, having some fun in the sun. It's freezing here in Australia. Like, yes, that's where I want to be.
Okay.
Yeah. Or it's with Kayla. It's fitness. It's inspiration of, you know, if I buy that outfit, I'm gonna, you know, go to the gym 3 times extra a week. Yeah. Maybe not.
And see, and also what Kayla does, she celebrates her customers' success as well, and that's, I think, a great engagement tool that Instagram gives you to build that link with customers. Like with Kayla, she encourages people to send before and after pictures next to them and is so supportive, and I think that's a great way of using Instagram.
That's the key, isn't it? Anyone who's thinking about using Instagram for their business there, it's not about getting the product out there. It's how do I actually bring my audience in, actually get them on board, that sort of stuff.
And how do you tap into their networks as well? Because when they're sending in their photo and then you're tagging them and they're sharing that, you'll then get accessing not only what you can reach but also what their networks are.
Okay, so actually hopefully that gives you an idea how to do it. Just don't see Instagram as a catalogue. You've got to see it as a way of telling a story and building an environment around a product. Casey in Victoria says, I'm new to Google AdWords, but understand it's important for brands to get noticed. Are social media hashtags used in a similar way? Now, I'm a terrible hashtagger, and I've been told I should be better on it. What does a hashtag do?
Basically, it links all the different content together that everyone's posting about that topic. So it might not necessarily be a tag of an account, it might just be a topic. So anything from LinkedIn to Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook actually use the hashtag process. So if something's happening in the news, you can literally see the hashtag and follow that. And across every news source, across everything that's going on, you've got that one feed.
So how does that help your business, Dave?
Oh, look, I've seen a few different tactics used around this, and maybe they're little tricks and tactics rather than actual strategies, but you can we call it hijacking a hashtag? You know, you see a story coming along and you pop your name out there and you hashtag it. Particularly, I think that journos tend to look up hashtags when they're trying to find a story. Yeah. If you just pop yourself forward as that guy who's involved in that and want to give your side of the story, well, next minute you can find yourself on the front page of a local newspaper or those sorts of bits and pieces, just by sort of trying to attach yourself to the story. Okay. Lots of tricks like that.
Well, and also someone was telling me that when you talk about sort of hijacking a hashtag, is that you see what's the most popular hashtag at the day, and then you put up some post that's loosely related to it and then put in a plug for your own business or your own topic. Now, people,
What's a great way of, if you say you're a small coffee shop, you can actually, on any photo you do hashtag coffee, hashtag barista, hashtag, you know, all those things. So if I'm going to Melbourne, I'll literally search, barista coffee shop Melbourne on Instagram just to see what's trending, what's coming up, any new cafes that I should go check out, and it will actually just show what's getting the most following and the most likes. Yes,
good tip.
It's a good discovery tool.
All right, Jack from Victoria has sent this question in. Jack says there's been a lot about artificial intelligence, AI, in the media. What does this mean for small businesses? How can I future-proof my business, Dave?
Oh, future-proof. Let's just forget future-proof. Let's talk future, though. There's so many tools and tactics and tips and things that are coming about from AI. Some of the wonderful ones that we've been using just like literally in the last week or two, that are just tools that help. There's a tool called Summarizer with a Z, and it's a Google Chrome extension, and you can read a blog. So you get a blog, you know, one of mine that goes on and on and on forever, and you hit Summarizer, and it will summarise the content into, you know, 1/3 of the length that it is. But this is done through artificial intelligence, so it doesn't just pick out the right sentences; it picks them out. And if I write something like,
it gives the most important parts. What if it picks the wrong part?
No, but it doesn't. This is just through the feedback that it continuously gets. It gets better and better. And the best bit about it is the really good stuff is it can summarise words there into other words by itself. So if I write in a blog that a blue pen can be used to write your signature, write a letter, suck on in a meeting, it'll say a blue pen can be used for lots of things, and go to the next sentence and ignore it. Just amazing stuff.
Wow.
There's a step even better than that. This is a great tool that everyone should be on. We should be on this one here. Lumen 5 have brought out a video technology that you just type in the URL, the web address of your blog, and it will go and create a video which it's put in the main sentences from your blog, and it's put video content behind it from a film archive, and then that goes straight out into social media. No touch or anything. Literally takes your blog, creates a video which has summarised it and got the video content, and out it goes. And we've been using it only for like literally 3 weeks. It's only been around for about 3 months, and this is a great one, Lumen 5.
Well, particularly if you're a small business and you want to get short, sharp video content up for social media.
Yep. I gave a talk just a week ago, and I told a lot of tools, and someone rang me up and said, I didn't listen to anything you said, but that Lumen 5 thing you told me about is the best thing that I've ever ever found.
Jen, you keep going while I write this one down. Yep.
So for small businesses, I think some of the best tools is all about automation and creating a really customizable experience for your customers. So if somebody walks into your shop, you can use some of Amazon has some great facial recognition tools. So they come in, and before they even ask for their coffee, it goes, oh, that's Jen, she has a double macchiato, and she's going to tap by card rather than cash. So start making the order, and she's going to tap now. So you can really streamline processes and experiences for users. But some more easy to use things is probably like smartly.io, so smartly.io. And what it does is actually automates all your Facebook advertising for small businesses. So you put up lots of images, and it will adapt those images for your ad sets based off what actually gets the end result for your company.
Yeah, nice.
So people walking in and buying things or buying things online. So it takes all the guesswork out, and it's an easy, low-level entry tool that small businesses can use to get access.
See, and for small business owners, this is all about taking an interest, isn't it? And giving it a go, and almost making it a hobby to find out what's new. Sort of going to Lumen 5 and giving it a go, or to...
It shouldn't be scary. Artificial intelligence isn't scary. It's about customer service. So it's do you do better training for your staff to smile better and be more greeting and happy, or can you have a automated experience so they can get in and get out quicker? It's all about that.
But the fact that a customer comes in and you can say, oh, g'day Jen, it's a skim flat white, extra hot, isn't it? That interaction with your customer, they go, wow, isn't that terrific? I'll just keep coming out. I feel like part of the family. That's fantastic.
Yeah, look, there's one more, very much worth mentioning, because a lot of people are doing paid advertising and Google AdWords and all those sorts of bits. And it used to be that you'd pay per click, and you'll know very much about this sort of stuff, Jen. But now you can actually say, well, look, we won't pay per click. Our goal is that they come to the page and they go through and then they fill in the form, and if they fill in the form, we'll count that as a success. So I want to pay for every success we have.
Right.
So Google or whatever the ad platform, you go up and down with your trying different faces and images and text and all that, and you just find out what works best. And then I'm happy. I'm getting better results than what I was.
Yep.
And the platform is actually finding out a much more efficient way of doing it. Just amazing stuff.
Fantastic. Great. All right, Laura from Tasmania has written in a question saying, is there somewhere I can go to learn how marketing all comes together? I'm talking about web pages, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and I'm sure there's others. Laura, great question, because you get bombarded with the options at the moment. So how can they all link together? What do you use, Jen?
There's a lot of automation tools, but from a learning of what works best for you and your business, and also your price range, I think for every industry and size of business, it's important about finding what works for you. And there's not going to be one silver bullet that fixes everything. Looking at sources like obviously KBB and watching things like that, getting a feel for what's out there. There's lots of Facebook groups as well. So obviously Like-Minded Bitches, there's 80,000 members, all different women in business who use totally different things. So you can pose the question and ask, what's working for you and why.
Right. So it's like a forum that you can just...
Yeah, so on Shopify, for example, there's a plugin that you pay $50 a month, and it automates all your marketing for you for your Shopify account. which is great.
Yeah.
So it really depends what tools you're using and finding what's the cheapest, easiest, and most automated thing that suits for your business.
Right. Dave?
Yeah, we get this question a lot, and a lot of times the questions are all specific about Facebook or Instagram. Almost all platforms have their own learning section with it, that you can go and do, and most of them try to bring it into a very simple model that's video based more often than not. Just watch that quick video of what are we trying to do, this is how we do it. Great stuff. There's also a few platforms out there like Udemy, which is short for I don't know what it's short for. It's like University and Academy, I think it is. And they have a lot of courses out there that are done by lots of people throughout the world. They're usually pretty simple. They're pretty cheap.
Super cheap. Yeah.
You're paying a small amount of money, and you're getting an expert who's going, look, I know all the ins and outs, but let me tell you what I had to go through to get there. And really good stuff. You can watch it on the train, on the bus, when you're just watching off your phone. Really good.
General Assembly do a few courses as well. Anything from coding yourself to doing all your digital advertising. That's a little bit more pricier, a bit more of a commitment, but so there's all spectrums.
Okay, all right, terrific. Lindsay from New South Wales says, I've registered for the webinar, and whilst doing this, I had a check done of my website. I had a result of D. There's a lot on the results. I do not understand and can't afford to pay out for anyone to fix it. What should I do?
Right, so that's saying, I know what that's referring to. That's a web review where there's a score of D, A, B, C, D, E, F. It's not an E and it's not an F, that's a good start. And there's a lot of these sort of tools out there that are sort of giving a rating or a ranking of how effective your website is. Most of them, almost all of them, will have a list of tools and tips and tips that you can implement yourself to try to get things right.
To fix your SEO, put your
that's right. But almost always, it's not a case of just fixing something for the sake of fixing it. We do that. That will make it faster or better in some way anyway for clients. Google have a tool. We might very much be talking about that. Google have got a tool that's brought out probably a year ago now, which you can find by just going web review Google, where they sort of assess your website for how they think it should be from a customer. And there's sort of a small caveat in there that this might affect your results. So, the results they're giving or the advice they're giving are things that you should implement because it might help your ranking pop up. And they're saying things like, if your website takes too long to load, that'll affect consumers.
Okay, so you can almost send your website into Google for a service.
Yeah, but pretty much, yeah. They won't fix it for you.
No, but they'll tell you what to do.
Look, one of the great ones, and we tell a lot of our clients now to go and there's a Google speed test. Google speed test, it tells you how long your website takes to load. Now, most people think their website loads quickly because they've loaded it once and it's already in their history, it's cached. But when you load it for the first time, it takes forever. And this one just goes and measures it. Google brought out a stat that was just great. There was something along the lines of 75% of website visitors won't wait 5 seconds for a website to load. So if it takes more than 5 seconds, you've lost 3/4 of your audience, the ones you're paying for, the ones you're trying to attract. So, really good stuff.
And something to consider is a lot of the tools out there like Squarespace, WordPress, ShareTribe, Shopify, etc. A lot of those sites pre-build in a lot of these things so that you're not having to mess around with all the detail. So it's set up, ready to go. It's fast on Google. It's got all your SEO done, and you pay $50 a month and you're ready to go.
So it's choosing the right platform to start with. Just bolt on. You don't need to start from scratch. Just do it. Okay.
It's all drag and drop nowadays, which is really helpful.
Yeah, exactly. Greg from Victoria says, what's the quickest way for me to get to the top of Google? I'm desperate.
Call Mr. Google.
Yeah. Bribe him. No, don't do that.
You heard it here first.
How do you do it? How do you get to the top?
There's no quick. Let's take that away. But the answer is if you want to get to the top of Google quick, you have to go through the paid AdWords section of things, which sits above the search. But if you want to get to the top of Google, you've got to do two things. So you've only got to do two things, which have about 1,000 aspects. One is you've got to be more relevant for a search phrase than all your competitors. So when someone types in a plumber in Sydney, your website has to be more about plumbing in Sydney than anyone else. That's the first bit. The second bit, though, is you have to be more important in the space of plumbing. So if you've got links coming from the Plumbing Association of Victoria and New South Wales and you've posted a whole lot of plumbing blogs, you'll be seen as a much more important website than the guy who's just started one. And you've got to get those two right.
So what, Google has an algorithm that just goes through and assesses all that and then ranks you accordingly?
Very much so, yeah. And you can test this yourself. If you want to try to rank for a very long search phrase. You want to rank for plumbers who work after midnight on Saturday in Sydney and fix broken taps, write that into one of your blogs and type that into Google in about 3 weeks and you'll probably be number one because you're much more specific than anyone else. But if you just write plumbers, that'll come down to how influential you are, and that comes with time.
And this is what SEO kind of comes under. So
Very much so.
So some things that you can do is basically set up lots of different landing pages. So if you're using things like Squarespace or WordPress, you can create lots of different landing pages and give them different titles. So plumbers in Sydney, plumbers in Potts Point, plumbers in Randwick.
Right.
So when it's getting more and more specific, it means that when people search for your business, you're not just coming up as Sydney plumbers in Sydney. Then it means that you can be important in other areas as well.
So you're really doing duplicates
Yes.
of your site, which is pretty simple to do and cheap and all that sort of stuff.
And change the text, change the location.
Yeah, just change a little bit more than the location because they've got a little bit clever at Google at picking up on that. Not a whole lot more, but just a little bit more than just changing the location.
Okay. Right. Worth it.
You know, sorry, I've got to tell you a funny story about that. I had a fella here who was a conveyancer, and he said, "I'd love to be at the top of Google for if you typed in who's the number one conveyancer in the world." And so I went and wrote a blog on his thing. That the title was "Who's the number one conveyancer in the world?" and the text back then went, "Who's the number one conveyancer in the world? I don't know. I think a certain name is the number one in the world." And basically along those lines. And sure enough, when you typed in who was the number one conveyancer in the world, he was number one. Oh, he was wrapped. He framed it, put it on his wall. Didn't give him any clients or any customers whatsoever, but it was up there forever.
But that's actually a good point. Is it doesn't matter if you are number one, you might not necessarily get people searching for that.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. Okay. Sharon from New South Wales says, "I'm interested in hearing from Jen around her take on the future of marketplaces. I'm reading that the two-sided platforms are heading in all sorts of directions, and I'd like to know what she thinks of the opportunities for small business. First of all, what are two-sided platforms?"
So two-sided marketplaces are where you've got supply and demand, and basically they connect together, and the platform is purely there to, allow for that connection to happen. So if you think of things like MadPaws in Australia, MadPaws is a platform that allows for dog owners or any kind of pet owners to put their pets up to be babysat for a week or 2 weeks while the owner's on holidays, and then pet sitters can put up their hand and go, "Hey, I'm in Sydney, I'm there for the 2 weeks, I'll pay, or you can pay me to look after that animal." Where are they going? The sharing economy is huge. It's rapidly evolved over the years. We all grew up being told don't hop in cars with strangers, don't go to people's houses you don't know, and don't accept food from strangers as well, right? Except these days we're staying in we're strangers' houses with Airbnb, we're hopping in strangers' cars with Uber, and we're getting food from Deliveroo or Uber. So it's rapidly changing. So where is it heading? I think because people are becoming more and more acceptable of those sorts of things, it's easier now more than ever where there's platforms like ShareTribe where you can pay $80 a month and you've already got a marketplace set up. You don't have to do any work. You can literally type in the name of your marketplace and you're ready to go. You've got everything there to go. So we're finding there's hundreds of marketplaces starting every year, even about to crack over the thousands. And there's lots of different services that you can take advantage of. And then users or customers are getting access to cheaper, better quality, better tailored services. So it kind of works for everyone.
Yeah. And products as well.
Yes.
So if let's bring it down to a small business owner who's a retailer. Okay, you have your bricks and mortar shop, but then you put individual products on the marketplaces that you will just supply to.
Well, Amazon, right? So you can, as an individual retailer, say I'm selling jackets, I can put my jackets onto Amazon, and Amazon's the platform, and then somebody in New York could see my jacket and go, "I want to buy that jacket," and then it all happens through the Amazon marketplace.
Right. Okay.
Jen, I find this fascinating.
My jacket?
When I get to New York, I'll be purchasing that.
Must have been. It's a great jacket.
When you started One Shift, I take you build a website. You have to go out and find people who wanted to employ people for a short space of time. Then you have to go and tell people you can get a job for a short space of time. If you were trying to start that today, where would you go?
Gosh, I wouldn't have hired 21-year-old me, I can tell you that. So today would be a lot smarter.
So
for sure.
this is just a pre-made platform?
Well, Share Tribe allows you to do that, whereas 5-6 years ago, you had to build it from scratch. So I actually did it as a blog to begin with.
Yeah, right. Wow.
I was the automation algorithm behind the scenes going, oh, yeah, this works.
Right.
So, you know, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
So Share Tribe actually has that all set up now. So you can
Wow.
literally go, right, this is the employer's login, this is the candidate's login, and if they go on to connect for bartenders in Sydney, they come up for the results and you can connect straight away.
Wow.
So
Okay.
today, if I was starting it, I'd use something like that. So I'm paying $80 and it all magically happens. It's drag and drop, even better. Marketing wise, I'd still probably do the same, testing out online on Facebook and all the automation tools that are really cheap to just try and test what works. And go from there.
But see, I reckon the bottom line, that's a great question, Dave, because it leads into the observation that 5 years ago, if you wanted to go digital as a bricks and mortar business or an idea, your biggest thing is, oh, who can I trust? Who's the geek I can trust, or the technology consultant to build all this for me? And often you wouldn't do it, or you'd have a bad experience because you don't understand. Yeah, exactly that. Now you can buy this stuff off the shelf.
Yes, and you're only paying month to month, so you're not overcommitting. You can test things out really quickly and really cheaply, and you can measure it all yourself. And it's so easy for even dummies like myself, where you don't need to find a consultant or trust somebody to do it. It's all in your hands.
Yeah, that's fabulous. All right, next question. Sam from New South Wales. My biggest challenge from a business has been getting visible to customers. Such a competitive environment out there. I don't know where to start. What are the best options? Now, we can only give you general because we don't know the individual business here, so that's a problem. It is a crowded space.
It is, and it very much depends on the business. I talk to a lot of businesses who are very much answer a specific problem. I often come back to plumbers, that plumber with a broken pipe, that sort of stuff. And for a plumber, it's very different to many other businesses because Facebook and the bits and pieces don't matter so much, particularly a new one. Branding or just people being generally aware can be much less effective or as just being there when someone types in, I've got a broken pipe. You know, it's after midnight, the toilet won't flush, emergency plumber, just being there in the spot. And that's what marketing is. Marketing is being in front of the customer at the right moment with the right message, the right time, you know, that sort of stuff. Now, that's one angle though, but then you've got the other exact opposite of that, of just that sort of social media building a network, which is completely opposite. So it's very much horses for courses here, knowing exactly what you want to be. What can you tell us, Jen? You can add to this.
Well, I think there's a difference between that brand piece, like you said, and also performance marketing, where you are really focused on the numbers. You spend X and you need to get Y back. Something from marketplaces, they really focus on the unit economics, which is basically if I put in $100 into spending on growing this business, how much do I actually make back and over what time? So for small businesses, it's really important to make sure you are setting up all your goals on your business. So Facebook Pixel, Google has lots of tools as well, where if you spend X, you can track what you're actually getting back for Y. So making sure that you don't, ignore all the noise of all the people getting lots of PR, lots of, just always being in your face. It's costing them a lot of money. Doing TV ads for the sake of TV ads is going to cost you a lot of money and doesn't guarantee results. So how can you focus on growing that really strong foundation of making sure that when you're spending X, you're getting Y, you can track that whole piece online and make sure that you are getting money in to then put aside a separate budget for doing those brand pieces.
It's one of the questions we get when we're doing strategies, and we bring it back to who are your customers, who's your ideal customer, and how do they purchase and how do they research? Just take me through the mindset, because as you say, the plumber is very different to the marketplace sort of thing, and the Instagram, as we talked about, is very different. That's a person who just wants to browse and be in amongst it, but the plumber's very different. So just knowing your customer, really thinking it through, because the customer of now can be very different to the customer of 10 years ago. Very, very different.
And also, it is sitting down, from what you're both saying, it's important to say, what's the objective of this? Is this to continue building a deeper brand with existing customers? Is it getting a new customer and making them spend? Is it just a brand building exercise where it's just getting your name out there? So that cuts down your options automatically, does it? And you have more of a focus. This next question, I never seem to have enough hours in my day and I've been struggling to switch off. Who has that problem? My website has a live chat function and I'm always chained to it, as well as emails and social media. How can I ensure my business is running smoothly even when I'm not there? sort of live chat is really, that's a rod for your own back, isn't it?
Oh, of course. There's lots of actually automation tools or even services that you can pay for, like
Right.
Influx. Basically, you only pay per request that comes through. So as a service, say you have a problem with your website or your service, it will grow with the amount of problems or customer requests that you're having.
Right.
So you can be paying up to $500 for that month, but then when everything's smooth and fine and you're only having the odd customer coming through, then you're only paying for that customer who's come through and requested something, so $50 a month or
Okay.
whatever.
Right.
So there's a lot of ways of outsourcing and automating these processes. So the more you automate, the more that you can focus on, the bigger picture and working on the
Right.
business, not in the business.
Okay, so influx is a thing to look
Yes,
at.
INFLUX.
Right, I don't know that one. I'm going straight back to the. We had a trial with a live chat last year, and it was good. The concept was really good in as much as someone not in the office is answering it for you, and they have the most sort of 20 most common questions covered. So how much do you charge and how long do you take?
Yep.
But eventually that person would say, hey, can I just have someone call you now?
Yep.
And the upshot was the person would say yes, and then that person would say, great, give us your number. They'd get the number, and that person who's sitting in an office somewhere would ring that person and ring our office at the same time, and so
Yep.
you're actually connecting two together. And it's impossible because when live chat comes up and says there's someone here now, you're sort of like, oh, can you take that? Or can you take that? I'm busy. But when the phone rings, you can't do anything. You just pick it up and it says you've got a live chat, and it would read out it's Bob Smith and he wants to know about websites and the likes. You go, oh great, and that was it.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So a great concept.
Yeah.
Mind you, when the phone rings, then we all start ducking down. And
Have you ever used Zapier? So Zapier basically connects everything. So all the if you're using email, any sort of invoicing system, chat system, whatever, you can actually click to connect lots of different tools. So it might send it all into a Google Doc, or it can automate any process for you without having to be a developer.
Wow.
You don't have to talk to me about Zapier. I went round and saw Luke Chaffee the other day and rang his doorbell, and he was in Sydney at the time, and he sent me a text going, I can see that you're there because Zapier had got it and sent it and all that sort of stuff.
Yep. I'm stalking
You're
you.
always found out. All right, Jake from Victoria says, I watched one of Dave's video posts on remarketing, which sounds amazing but complicated. Only a small business with just 10 staff members. I'd like to know how I can do remarketing without getting bogged down in all the details.
Yeah, no, remarketing is actually pretty simple. In its simplest form, there are many platforms out there. If you type in remarketing, you'll find heaps out there, and you put a little bit of code on your website. And what it means is that when someone comes to your website, then they start seeing your ad, when they're around the net. Now, the tricky bit is to do it right, because everyone I know says if you go onto a shoe site, particularly if you're a female, I mean to be sexist, if you're a female and you go onto a shoe site to buy shoes and you don't buy the shoes, that pair of shoes will follow you around in every ad for the next 3 weeks. So, but you turn it on low rotation and it's good. Yeah, we've seen some great success with that sort of stuff.
Okay.
I think retargeting is important with making sure you're looking at what part of the journey they're at. So if they're just landing on the home page, you can automatically, even through Facebook Pixel, it'll retarget them on Facebook saying, hey, we know you came, you obviously tailor your message, but hey, you just came to visit us, come back again. But if they're they've actually signed up and haven't then gone past that point to do anything or purchase something or left stuff in the cart, you can have a very different message to, hey, you've still got that bag of coffee beans there. So really make sure it's targeted messaging, so it's relevant, is really important than just, hey, it's me again, hey, it's me again.
Yeah. And so you can decide through the technology, okay, if they just go to the website, if they go onto the shopping cart.
So you have different buckets, essentially, if you think of it that way. Here's the bucket of people who just came to the site, here's the bucket who did this, who's the bucket who did that. And you can set up your ads to have a different message, and as they move to the next bucket, then they start getting the next message.
Wow.
And once you set it up once, it's done. You don't have to worry about it.
Okay, great tip. Next one from Tennille in Victoria. I'm a member of Like-Minded Bitches drinking wine from Geelong. And what great wine comes from Geelong too, by far. One of my favourite Pinots. Bit exy now, but no, I won't go into but no. But one of the nieces has started nearby. Jane Farr? Yeah, and she does a great Gamay, which is about half the price of By Far, which I can't afford at the moment. So anyhow, how did I get onto that? It's the wine. You led me into it, Jen. My question for Jen, what made you start the group? Has it helped your business, and where do you see it going in the future?
It's a really interesting question. So maybe 5-6 years ago, it was 2012 when I first started One Shift. The largest tech co-working space was just starting as well, so fish burners. So there was no real hub for lots of different startups or people who were trying to run a business, and the word startup and entrepreneur wasn't really thrown around.
Yep.
So it was more about just you're in your room, you're in your garage, you're in a hole in the wall trying to figure out what you're doing. And then suddenly I met this girl, Jane Lou, who was running Showpo, and we were like, oh my God, you're a cool person, like you're a woman as well, like unicorn. Hadn't really come across anyone like that. And so we were like, oh, let's just catch up once a month, have a glass of wine, see if we can help each other out. It's nice to have someone like-minded and going through the same things. Yeah. And it was as simple as either event or just, do you know an accountant? Because I don't know an accountant or whatever. And we just solved problems and got on with it. There was just no BS and straight to the point, over a glass of wine, of course. And then the next dinner I was like, Lauren Silvers from Glamazon's going to come. They've just started a business as well. And Jane brought some people, and we had 30 girls turn up to this second dinner. And we're all, into the wines, and we thought, email chain isn't really going to work with 30 women. It's going to get way too hectic. So Facebook groups has just started. Let's just do a Facebook group. It's just us. Ha ha ha. What do we call this thing? Like-minded bitches. We're drinking wine. So a lot of planning in the brand. And then everyone just started adding people, and we're getting 500 women a week joining around the world. We're in 40 cities, from London, Tel Aviv, Shanghai, Bali, New York, San Fran. And the network is phenomenal. I went to Berlin for some meetings for Tammy, and at the end of the meeting, one of the girls was like, look, do you mind just holding fire for a second? I was like, is everything okay? Did I do something inappropriate? Like, what's going on? And about 6 women came in going, Berlin, bitches. I was like, okay.
Isn't that fantastic?
It's incredible. And it's all run from ambassadors in every city. So it's got nothing to do with us. It's local women who run startups, just creating that network, who have wine once a month and just go, right, how can we help you? How can you help us? And where is it going? Our aim is to make it sustainable, because the biggest thing is, if Jane and I drop off the face of the planet, how does this thing keep going?
Or if you give up alcohol.
That's never going to happen. That's the lowest of the risks. Yep, so where is it going?
Well, we've got 81,000 members now. We've only just put in, I guess, a moderator group to actually assist with managing the amount of people joining and the types of comments. We have members posting more than 500 times a month. That's not even commenting. Commenting's through the roof. So it's crazy, the engagement. And we want to make sure that the group dictates where it goes, rather than Jane and I just being like, that way.
I think the name is just genius. Like, I'm just picturing people just looking through, going, the business group and the women's business group, and they're going, wait, that one right
there. Sasha from Western Australia writes in saying, Facebook groups seem to be going from strength to strength, and Jen's just amplified that. Is that something small business owners like myself should get involved in? Well, it is. It's easy. It's a connection, isn't it?
The best thing... Oh, sorry. Do you
No. By all means, you know this infinitely better than I do. So,
well, the benefit of it is that...
And of course, then you get 4 people pop up and say, this guy was great, and look, easy to get along with. And you know it's a genuine sort of referral with a bit of sort of common sense to it, rather than just, I read it online or whatever.
You get a lot of great brand groups as well. So Afterpay have some great ones where they actually... It's called Afterpay Obsession, I think. And which is a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. But basically, it's hundreds of thousands of users who basically are looking for where Afterpay's got its next sale with brands and whatnot. So it's a great way to create that customer obsession or club.
And it takes away that loneliness of doing business and a connection. We're one of our forums here, Flying Solo, which is just dedicated to solo entrepreneurs. Its biggest thing is its forums. It's just massive. People solving each other's problems and sharing ideas doesn't make you feel nearly as lonely. Or it's sort of the next step. I own my own business and have for years. Always have cash flow problems. No matter how well you're doing, there's a cash flow problem. And it was the bane of my life. And then I read Phil Knight's Shoe Dog, which is Phil Knight started Nike. Great read, and all the way through it until he floated it for $4 billion or something, all he talked about the entire book was his cash flow problems. I thought,
Me too.
I'm not an idiot. You know, you doubt yourself, and then you realise and you swap ideas. So
it's so important.
I'll look forward to
really
the memoir then, will I?
Are you going to use summarise?
I could sell it for as much as me. Maybe our last question, Jess from South Australia. What is local SEO? Should I be doing it? And is social media geotagging important for visibility?
Well, they're two different things, but yes and yes. Local SEO is referring to just being visible for searches that are done locally. You know, we know that a lot more local searches are done on mobile phones than desktops, and we know that a lot more of those searches result in phone calls. So, so the aim here is to try to make sure that you come up when someone's typing in, you know, a restaurant in the local town, that sort of stuff. Very important. Geotagging, geo gateways, that sort of stuff is just to do with advertising and setting your advertising to be within a certain radius, that sort of stuff. So, yeah, they're all important. They absolutely.
Yeah, it depends on your business, I suppose, Jen, does it?
Yeah, so exactly with the example of I'm going to Melbourne, I'm looking for a coffee shop on Instagram. If I'm typing in coffee in Melbourne, then it makes sure that your coffee shop's going to come up, rather than if you're just, hey, we're a coffee shop in Australia. Nobody searches, you know, a coffee shop in Australia. So really think about the user, the journey that they're going to go on to find you. And if you're make sure you're tagging all your photos where you're at on Facebook and Instagram in the locations that you're at, you've got a better chance of coming up. It's the same as the hashtag thing. If people are searching for that, make sure you've got the ability to come up.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, that's all we have time for today. Be sure to join us again on August 29th for part 2 of this year's KBB Digital Webinar Series, which is in partnership with Small Business Victoria. Enjoy Small Business Month. Before we go, Jen, we've got to get a wine recommendation.
We actually have a Like-Minded Bitches wine.
Yeah, you
Nice.
6'6" wine, labelled
Oh,
cartons
they're
and
great.
cartons of it for us. She's a like-minded bitch.
Yeah, fantastic.
6'6", that's from down my way, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Drink
She's
too
a
much
bitch,
of that.
so yep, must be good wine.
Look out for it. Thank you, guys. Great to see you. Dave Chaffee from KBB Digital and Jen George, of course, from Tanning
Alcoholics
Creek.
Anonymous.
See you for the next webinar, August 29.